Hey everyone, welcome back. Today's video is part 1 in my Excel for Data Analysts playlist. And in this video, we're just going through the basics of Microsoft Excel. So all of the features you will need to know as a data analyst. If you are new to data analytics and you're just kicking off your learning journey, this is a great place to start. So let's jump right in. First, let's just get familiar with the Excel interface. When you open up Microsoft Excel, you'll have the ribbon up here at the top, which contains all of your tools organized into tabs like Home, Insert, and Data. Below the ribbon, you have your worksheet area made up of columns labeled A, B, C, etc., and rows labeled 1, 2, 3, etc. So this entire Excel file is called a workbook. Inside your workbook, you can have multiple worksheets. And you can think of worksheets like tabs in a binder. So in the bottom left corner, you'll see all of the sheets within your workbook. If you want to add a new sheet, you can just click the plus button. Normally it would say sheet 2 and not sheet 3, but I created sheet 2 before this one and deleted it, so it says sheet 3. And if you right click on your sheet, you have a bunch of different options, including delete and rename. So I'll just go ahead and delete the new sheet that I created. All right, so let's get some data to work with. If you have your data stored in an Excel file, it will have the extension .xlsx. And in that case, you can just open it up. It will open as an Excel file and you can begin working with it. If your data is stored in a CSV file, it will have the extension .csv, and you will need to import your data into Excel. So to import a CSV file, all you need to do is come over to your Data tab and click on the drop-down next to Get Data. This might look a little bit different for you depending on what kind of machine you have and which version of Excel you're using, but the process should be very similar. So from here, you'll just go down to From Text and click on that and select your CSV file and click Get Data. Now you can choose how you want your data imported. Most of the time for a CSV file, you're going to select Delimited. So I'll go ahead and click Next. And now you need to choose which character is separating the columns in your data. CSV stands for comma separated values. So that means that this data is separated by commas. I'll click Next. And lastly, you can set the data format if you want. So if you have dates in your data set, you can make sure they are formatted correctly. I do have dates in my data set. It's this order date field. So I'll make sure to highlight that column, and I need to indicate that that field is in the format year, month, date. And I'll go ahead and click Finish. Now just choose where you want your data in the sheet by just clicking into the cell where you want your data to start and click Import. All right, now that we have our data in our workbook, let's talk about formatting in Excel. Having nice, clean formatting makes your data easier to read and analyze, and it just looks much more professional. So if you want to adjust your column width, you can just hover your mouse between two columns and click and drag to set the width. If you want your columns to auto-fit to your data, you can just double-click between two columns, and your column width will be auto-adjusted. If you have multiple columns that you want to adjust, you don't need to adjust them individually. Just highlight the columns you want to adjust and double-click between any of the columns you have highlighted, and they will all auto-adjust for you. Next, if you have a very large data set and you want to be able to see your column headers even when you scroll down, you're going to want to use freeze panes. So when you come up to the View tab, you'll see 3 freeze options: freeze panes, freeze top row, and freeze first column. So if I select freeze top row, that will allow me to scroll down and still see my column headers. And you can unfreeze by just clicking unfreeze panes. And you can probably guess what happens when I click freeze first column. It does the same thing for my first column, so I can scroll to the side and still see column A. If I click on freeze panes, that will freeze the columns and rows that follow the cell that I have selected. So for example, if I want to freeze column A and row 1, I would select cell B2 because B comes after A and 2 comes after 1. And then I'll just click freeze panes. And there we go. Now I can scroll down and scroll to the side and I still see the row and column that I have frozen. All right, let's come back to the Home tab. So this is where you can make some quick formatting changes to your cells. So for example, if I want to make my headers bold, all I need to do is highlight all of my headers and click bold. I also want a border under my headers. So again, I'll just make sure my headers are highlighted, and then I'll come up to the ribbon and find the borders button. And when you click on the drop-down menu, you see all of the border options. I'm just going to choose a bottom border. You can't see my border right now because I have this first row frozen, so I'm going to come back to my view and I'm going to unfreeze my panes. And now you can see that I have this bottom border. You can also change the data type. So if I want my sales and my profit columns to have the currency data type, there's two ways that I can do that. I can either highlight the cells that I want to format, and then I can click this money sign up here, or I could highlight the cells that I want to format, and then I can come up to this drop-down menu and change the format from general to currency or accounting. Lastly, I'm just gonna adjust my decimal points. I don't really need these two columns to be rounded to 2 decimal points. So with my data selected, I'm gonna come back to my ribbon and click on this button that says decrease decimal. And I'll click it twice to decrease by 2 decimal places. If you're wondering how to select multiple cells that are not next to each other, all you need to do is hold the control button while you select your cells. The very last thing I want to show you in this video is some keyboard shortcuts. So if you're working with huge data files with hundreds of rows, it's not going to be efficient to click and drag all the way down your column. So instead, if you want to select a column of data, just click into the first cell that you want to select, and on your keyboard, hold down Control, Shift, and the down arrow key. You can also select the entire column by just clicking the column letter up here. Similarly, if you want to select several cells in the same row, you could just click on the first cell that you want to select, and then on your keyboard, hold down Control, Shift, and the right arrow key. And if you want to select the entire row, just click on the row number. All right, so we have covered the very basics of Excel, and now you know enough to get started. I think the best way to learn a new software is just to open it up and start playing with it. Excel is super user-friendly, and there are a ton of hidden tricks within Excel, so just play around with it and see what you can learn on your own. In my next Excel video, we will go over how to use Excel for data cleaning and preparation. So don't forget to like this video and hit subscribe to get notified every time I post. Thanks for watching.